Good morning, Bravo Zulu Network. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Joshua Moore. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you all are been blessed with a 3-day weekend, President's Weekend, Monday. And I hope if you're military, I hope you got a little bit of extra on the front end or back end, and your CEO blessed you with the 96, because, you know, what's better than a 96? All right, today's episode, we finished another CNO's book. All right, this one was Legacy, 15 Leadership Lessons from the All Blacks, the world famous rugby team. It's like reading it, I learned that it's like one of the most winningest sports team organizations of all sports. They have like a win percentage of like high 96%, 94 to 95. It's like flying outstanding colors, passing SMC or your shipboard inspections kind of numbers that they lie about. All right. Written by James Kerr. I got my notes right here. The core premise, right, is how to build the culture that the All Blacks built and how they built it, the things they implemented, the rules that have gotten them into that winning mindset for such a long time. Okay. And our big question here, because this is on the CNO's reading list, is can we in the Navy use these same leadership lessons implemented here and find some kind of same success? All right, pretty good lessons. This book was a lot better. I like this book a lot more than I've liked some of the other ones. This is, I don't have that up. This is not from the same. We started with the competency grouping from the CNO. We read 2 or 3 of those. The third one was not interested in reading because the first 2 did not rub me the right way. I didn't really like them. I was like 1 for 1 on it and a low mid grading on 1. So this one I think is, I forget what this is. I'll let you know in the show notes. All right. Pretty good lessons here, but with anything, and you've heard me talk about this in the other ones, many of these leadership books always refer or somehow go back to sports, which sports are good for you. Awesome. Great. There's leadership things there, but it's not always a direct translation. So we're going to break these 15 lessons down. We broke them down into 3 groupings where like similar lessons could be grouped under one bigger umbrella. And you'll see that many of these lessons later on in our group 3 here, there's a lot more in group 3 than the other ones. And I kind of found that interesting as to why, and we'll get into it as we break them all down, right? One of the biggest things though here, right, is the shared culture of the All Blacks. They're not all Samoan or Polynesian or Tahitian. Tahitian, I think, is the word. They're English, South Africa. They come from a wide world, very diverse group. But the baseline culture, right, of the Māori, I think is how they say it. Please let me know down in the comments if I'm saying it wrong. No disrespect at all. I love that culture, having been stationed in Hawaii, like Polynesian culture and all that, having friends of that background. It's fucking awesome. Love it. So no disrespect there. It's just I'm not that educated in the enunciation of that, or pronunciation, whichever one you want to pick. So the Navy must decide, what is our culture? Right? What is the culture that if the CNO is putting this on the reading list, okay, then we have to decide what is our culture in the Navy, just like the All Blacks decided what their culture was, and then how we're going to enforce those standards and these lessons. All right, so group 1 is humility and personal discipline, okay? What we came up with here is the 3 lessons. It's kind of like I think it's the first 3. The third one, I'm not sure, but I know: sweep the sheds, no dickheads, and know thyself. Okay, those are 3 lessons, and we group those under the humility and personal discipline. Now, why? All right, so sweep the sheds. It's a humility thing. It starts off number 1 in the 15 lessons. All right, I like it. Okay, but how do we translate that into Navy? Because what it's talking about is, after the games, all the players, they sweep their locker rooms. They call them the sheds, right? They clean up after themselves. They take care of their own things, right? They don't need the housemaid to come in and do it, things like that, right? It says senior players clean the locker room. No one is above the team. Sounds good. Not bad. I'm not against it, right? Leading by example. that we all have come from somewhere, and we can all get back to there real quick, right? Where I kind of like rub cross grain with it is, although it's good and it models humility, right, which you should be doing, you cannot do it so much where it takes away your authority, where you can undermine yourself with it, okay? It's just, this is my opinion, okay? I believe that if you are always like humbling yourself to a level where your sailors are like, we don't got to take out the trash, Chief's going to do it, you've gone too far, okay? Is it okay to take out the trash? Trash call after the ship's pulled back into port? Yes, be in the fucking trash line. Take the trash out, right? Everyone made that trash. You're not above that. Sweep the sheds there, right? The daily, take the divisional trash? No, like you might not like it, but that's a junior sailor, right? And by junior sailor, I mean the most recent one to join the crew. Hey, man, that's your new job every day. And I'm okay with that because that's kind of like that builds their humility of like, you need to earn your way into our team. All right. Everyone who's joined this team has started by taking out that trash every day. That's their responsibility. So I'm okay with that. But you cannot use it too much where it takes away your authority. All right. You must protect that positional authority of yourself. If you give it away, like you're giving away a lot more that's going to do you harm than do your leadership style any good. Just my opinion, how I look at that. All right. Humility does not mean erasing the hierarchy that we do have, the rank structure, okay, that we have. It's there for a reason. I believe you can humble yourself so much where you're humbling yourself right below your junior sailors. And they start to think, that dude's got it. That chick's got it. All right. Number 2 in here is the no dickheads rule. And what I got from that is like, first raise their hand. Raise your hand if you've ever been called a dickhead. That's, yes, me. But what we got from this was, it's more about protecting the culture, right? It's about doing things not to embarrass your culture. And by culture here, we're talking about the command, your division, your department, whatever that is, right? I always speak highly about supply department. I've been part of some great supply departments where our attitude was a lot of this, right? It's like, hey, like, don't do anything to have senior chief, and when I was a junior sailor, to have my senior chief and suppo having to stand in their dress whites or dress blues with me in front of the old man, right? That's being a dickhead. That's not protecting the culture. So that's what you want to build, right? Now, so a lot of this kind of goes into the toxic personalities, but I look at that, if I'm a sailor that's always jacking up, right? That's just as toxic as the leader who's always being a like dickhead downward towards you, right? Toxic is toxic. Okay. Toxicity doesn't just come from the leadership who's enforcing standards, who's trying to drive you to success, who's pushing you to be better, and you don't like it. So you're going to call it toxic, right? Toxic can come from junior sailors who are constantly getting in trouble. Being a dickhead and going against the culture of your division or your command. That's toxic just as well. And a lot of times it could be worse because at the lower level, at your junior level, there's a lot more influence there, right? You could be the one leader at that junior level that's leading everyone down the wrong path. Right. And that's going to go a lot further, and it's a lot easier to do than the one good leader or one toxic leader. Okay. Don't forget that. Enforcing standards is not being toxic. All right. In sports, ego clashes are manageable, right? The sports are a lot smaller of a team, right? Even if you look at something like football, sure, like the whole organization is pretty freaking large, but the team itself, what's on a team? Like 50 total people or something? Right? 11 lining up on each side. Maybe, you got your second stringers. So, like, usually when you hear about it, it's like your 2-star players or something. They're butting heads about it. And then you could easily trade somebody off. They're gone. Once Draymond Green pops them in the mouth, they're out of there. Right? So, it doesn't always be exactly the same. Excuse me. But the overall arching rule here that I like is like, it should be about protecting the culture. It's not necessarily I don't like that person. They're a dickhead because I don't like how they talk, or I don't like their tone, or I don't like the car they drive, or I don't like how they're always fucking walking around the deck plates, hoo-yah and shipmating, and they're just, it's not about that. It's about protecting the culture, not being a dickhead and bringing negative spotlight into your world, right? Or the world of, you and your shipmates. Like I said, your division, department, command. Know thyself. Self-awareness. Man, I loved this one. I beat the drum on this constantly. I tell junior sailors about this regularly. And it's something I really get in on selectees during the chief season, right? There's nothing more important than knowing thyself, self-awareness, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your vices, knowing where you are capable of being good, and knowing that could be a hindrance because you rely on that too much, right? I was just talking to someone last night and deep conversations, and I was like, you know what? If there's anything that I would be described as, at least self-described, would be like self-aware. I know where I've messed up in my life with the decisions I've made, right? It's funny I say decisions. The next book we're reading is talking about decision making, and I know those things, and you got to live with it. There's no regrets, but you got to keep moving on. But to be aware of those things, right? I think that is so important. All right. You can't help the team if you can't help yourself, right? If you are a person, this is what I talk about a lot during the chief season, is that being able to ask for the help, right? Knowing where you are at in maybe personal life and professional life, and knowing that you're not going to be able to complete one or two things, or you're not good at balancing those things, and asking for the help when you need it the most. That's super important. You have to be self-aware of that. And it's something that you do not see a lot at all ranks. And junior sailors, right, it comes like with experience, and it comes with knowing and experiencing more parts of life. You know how you respond to those. So it's not like everyone's super young, or not even super young, but 18, 25, and they're like the most self-aware person. I wasn't when I was that age. I was a fucking knucklehead. Okay? But with more experiences, more reflection, like sitting down, just thinking about it, talking to good mentors, getting feedback, you will learn those things. Right? And it's something that we as leaders, right, that's you, no matter what magic pants you're wearing, it's something we should be talking to our junior sailors about, putting it in their mind to start seeking it earlier. That way if they seek it earlier, they'll have it earlier, and they'll be better earlier. And and that goes into the legacy, which we'll talk about all kind of wrapped up at the end. And as you can see it back on the board, right? You are not the legacy. All right, that's something I'm going to drive home here. Stay tuned. Just make it to the end. All right, so that's all like individual things, right? The humility stuff. Let's move on. We're going to start transitioning into the team and where these lessons start getting into team. So here's our group 2 of leadership lessons from the All Blacks. It's quite a bit more. It's not 3. It's pass the ball, create a learning environment, invent your own language, and ritualize to actualize. That was a pretty good one I really like too. We're going to save that one here to the end. Let's get into pass the ball. Delegation versus accountability. I think we don't get the lesson enough about responsibility, authority, and accountability. And some of those things you can delegate, and some things you cannot. All right. You let me know down in the comments what you think it is. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you like 2 seconds. 1, 2. The accountability is always yours. Right? That's why it's always your chief or your div or your department head having to go explain to the captain why it's fucked up. Sure, maybe it was you, the LS2, who fucked it up. You don't have to go explain that. It doesn't matter if you're trying to jump on that grenade or not. There's so many sailors I've seen like, Chief, I'll go do it. I'll talk to the captain. I'll fall on that sort of. Like, shut up. When you're being dramatic and you think it's about you, but it's not. Okay? And you talking to the captain about it isn't going to do shit, right? I've seen it happen where, especially on LCS, where the crew is very small, and you get a lot of interaction with the 2 O5s on board. And it's just like, the O5s are going to look at the junior sailor, and being good leaders that they are going to be like, oh, okay, thank you. oh yeah, no, I understand. Awesome. And they're just going to smile about it. And they'll be like, all right, now fucking dismissed, like leave. And then they're going to be like, hey, department heads, go ahead and come on inside to the captain's stateroom. And you're going to go, the captain's going to light you up. Because why is this fucking E5 talking about it's his fault? When he knows it's your fault because you cannot delegate the accountability of things. Okay? So, with that, like, we have to, you can't, this is called pass the ball. And what we call this is passing the buck. Some things you cannot pass the buck to, right? That accountability. Now, what you can do is pass the ball with some responsibility. You can pass the ball with some authority. And those are things, whatever community you're in, is, hey, you're in charge of this storeroom. Everything that comes in and out of this storeroom is your responsibility. You have the authority to run inventories or this and that. I'm just speaking about supply things that I know. Excuse me. If you're in the DC world, it's DC lockers. If you're in the combat systems world, it's radar rooms. That's your responsibility to keep that place clean, right? You have the authority. You have the key to keep that locked space locked, right? But the accountability when it's jacked up is always goes up. Some things you can pass the ball about. Some things you cannot. You have to learn what you can. And when you can, pass that ball, right? Give the opportunity for your junior sailor to grow and to score that dub. It's not, you don't need it. What the fuck's it going to do for you, Chief? Excuse me. All right. Especially first classes. First classes should be passing the ball more than anybody, in my opinion. Okay. First classes should be making sure, like, you want to put on khakis. First classes should be motherfucking John Stockton of the division. Okay. If you don't know who that is, look it up. Some of y'all might be too young for that. All right. John Stockton of the division, delivering it every time to one of their junior sailors, to all of their junior sailors. All right. That's what you should be. Create a learning environment. Popular idea. Leaders. So this is where the leaders are learners. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. This one I always have a tough time with because it's like the leaders are learners. Leaders never stop learning. And it's this like constant growth. But for myself, I don't know everything, but I feel my growth in the Navy has absolutely been halted like the last 3 to 5 years. And there's not much more, right? Maybe again, well, not maybe, due to my own choices and decisions, absolutely. But also it's like, even going like being able to be selected for senior chief, going to CMC route is the only way where I think there'd be more to learn. And even at that, I'm just like really like challenged with what are you really learning? I think it's being exposed to more, but the basic lessons I think always apply once you're in the magic pants, right? With anchors on, the basic lessons always apply. You just kind of move up in the room and tell those basic lessons to people with a couple more shiny fucking collar devices. So what does this mean? I think a lot of people think leaders or learners is like classroom learning. I don't think that. I think I beat this drum all the time. It's experience learning. We need to have more experiences, different experiences. How many Master Chiefs do you know out there that have been in the same community or going to the same platforms more than twice? There's probably a lot. Probably a lot of them. So how can they sit there and tell me leaders or learners when it's like, you haven't learned to be on any other ship but a carrier? You've done 5 carriers in your career. 5. What was different about any of them? Different leaders, different CEOs, sure. Different crew, okay. You were different in wherever you were at in your career, but it's the same thing, right? So if you're going to be a leader or learners person, you should really check yourself and ask, like, what have you been learning through your experiences and how diverse those have been? All right. Train your relief daily. It shouldn't just be about us learning every day, but we should be learning, teaching our juniors so they could be the leaders that are learners. We ever think about it like that, chat? We ever think about that? If leaders are learners, why are we not training our relief every day so they're learning, so they could be a better leader? Light bulb moment. Bad days. Bad days are some great teachers. Bad days are great teachers, right? We should not be protecting our sailors from bad days. We should be helping them embrace the bad day and letting them know what to learn from the bad day. Growth, right? All this is to grow into a better leader. That's why I say if we start teaching our leaders earlier, our sailors, they will be better leaders sooner, quicker, earlier. Doesn't mean it all happens exactly just like that. It's not a fucking math formula where you know exactly, okay, if I start teaching here, then by here, they'll just be perfect. It doesn't happen. All right. So much of it, so much leadership is like personal, right? That you cannot necessarily like grow in a lab. All right. Growth should be constant, informal, and practical, right? Not just by the book instruction. Here, follow this guide, do this, do that. All right. Invent your own language. All Blacks use a shared language. We have that language. We have Navy talk. We have Navy jargon. Your scuttlebutt, your port and starboard, fore aft, right? My favorite, my two favorite here, usually together. Hoo-yah, shipmate. Those are my two favorite together, right? Why don't we own those? Why don't we turn them into positive things? I know there's sailors here where I'm at that they love to shipmate me back. And I just think it's kind of cringe for them, right? I think it's like, they go, well, you call me shipmate. Why can't I call you shipmate, chief? And it's like, look, go ahead, shipmate. If that makes you feel better, right? If that's what you got to do, so you don't feel like I'm calling you a fucking slur by using shipmate, go ahead, man. Right? Like it's just, there's no energy for me to fight it, really. It doesn't hurt my feelings, right? And now much of the command, I hear a whole lot of hoo-yahing. I hear a whole lot of shipmating. It is hilarious how contagious it can be, even if it is partially sarcastic. That's fine. They're smiling when they're doing it. It's okay with me. All right. We have that shared language. But we need to take the bigger Navy shared language, and we need to put that like smaller into your division department. Okay. You can create your own inter-department language, your own command. What's the command language? And this isn't just words all the time, right? It's like actions also. All right. What about routing correspondence to admin? What's that language look like? Are there colored folders for certain items? For normal like correspondence, for evals from this department, for the like, what does all of that look like? And sometimes it really gets a pain in the ass, right? It was a pain in the ass when our XO said we need like five or 8 different color folders because he wanted every department to have a different one. I was like, what the fuck? But that's the language he was trying to create, right? So somewhere in there, you got to support it. And that language, whatever you're creating there locally at your smaller level, right, that cannot interfere with the commands language. And I think that's really the language that we need to focus on at the, not even at my level, at the next level. I'm an enforcer of that language. At that CO, XO, C, at that triad level, what is the language that they are trying to set for the command that is inside the lifelines and that projects outside those lifelines? And then you, as the leader on board, whoever you are, you as the junior sailor on board, as the senior sailor on board, how are you demonstrating that language? That's very important, right? Whether that could come down to the ball cap, that could come down to your uniform. And I say ball cap because that's when you're out there on the pier, that's what people are seeing, right? Are you known as a very good ship, right? Not just the CO, right? Not just the popular CO on the pier, but the ship, the entire ship, the crew. Are you reinforcing that language? All right. Here's another one. This one is one I really liked here, right? Ritual lies to actual lies. this one was really cool. And this is what it gets into, what the All Blacks are really famous for, what so many people caught on to them, is their haka, right? Done at the beginning of every game, very emotional. It's kind of taken over as Samoan Polynesian culture has kind of spread out of the islands and gotten into the more, into the mainland U.S. and all over the world, right? People have been exposed to it. They've seen it. A lot of college football players now, they'll see families doing it together. And when you really get into it, and they talk about in the book how everyone thinks it's like a very warrior, like fighting thing. And the one they talked about in the book where the All Blacks created their own, it's more, I looked at it in my view, in Josh's view, my POV. You let me know down below what you thought or what you think of it. Or if you're, if you're of that culture, let me know what it means to you. It was like a prayer before the game. Just a very intense, like physical action and demonstration of it, right? Where they're giving thanks to the land and their culture for bringing them here today. And now they're going to do, battle on the pitch or whatever they call it in rugby terms. That's soccer really, but you get it. All right. So what does that mean for us in the Navy? What does ritualize to actualize mean in the Navy? It means we need to do a better job on our customs and ceremonies. We need to get to the Marine Corps level, which does a very good job. And it's something that we don't always do a great job. I've been to plenty of places where doing an award ceremony has been jacked up and you're sitting there like, this does not look like it should look. And it's just, it's fucking disheartening. It's abysmal. It is disgusting. It is not giving the command that this is a ritual that we need to be proud of, that we all need to be tuned into for whatever it's a frocking ceremony. We're doing some handing out some NAMs and into tours, into award, whatever it is, right? Like it should be a ritual, whether that's here. I got some listed: chief initiation, change of command, watch turnover, award ceremonies, and a fun one, crossing the line. All those are rituals that we have in the Navy, right, that actualize what we're about. And many of these people want to get rid of. They're slowly chief initiation. I've talked about it, plenty of episodes on this channel about it. They're slowly going to get rid of that. And you might be a supporter of that. But once they get rid of one of these rituals, they're going to get rid of more. Okay. I remember back in, what was that, 2016, 2017, one of those years right there, when they did away with our ratings. And you became a, like, MOS-like number. And sailors threw a fit. I'd be like, hey, PO2, come here. I'm not PO2, I'm ET2. Oh, my God. Now I've never heard you, shipmate, be so proud of anything in the 3 years we've been on board together. But now that I'm calling you PO2, Petty Officer Second Class, and not ET2, you're losing your shit. Why? Because it's important. It was important to the sailors. The ritual of having a rating and being different from all the other branches was important, right? And rituals are important, whether it's you have religious rituals, whether it's your own, a lot of sports fans, pregame rituals, whatever it is. If you're out there and you are on the deck plates and you have a ritual before an unrep, which we all heard about the unrep that took place in the Caribbean with the Truxton and the USNS Supply having a collision. Thank God all those sailors are safe. There's a couple injured. Haven't heard anything significant there. Maybe there's a ritual before those events that you do, a prayer or something, any kind of ritual, whatever you want to call it, that, you hope for safety and everything. Okay. So why do we do those things? Because all of those things, all those rituals make it important, and it sends a message to the crew that it's meaningful, that it's important, that we need to do this because it's important and meaningful to us. Right? Without this, why don't I just fucking, coin flip you a fucking NAM and say, all right, yeah, go. It becomes more watered down than what it already is. All right. When those rituals become hollow, when they become disorganized, when they become not taken seriously, right? Our culture, the Navy culture, weakens. And I think that's where you'll see that today, right? How many retirement ceremonies and change of commands have you seen that have been like slightly jacked up, right? Not taken seriously. People showing up in messed up, jacked up uniforms. Here's one that I fucking like. You do a retirement ceremony or change of command, and it's not in a like service and above uniform. Frocking ceremonies, not in a service or dress uniform. Why? Because it's easy. Sailors don't really want to wear it. Let's just make this easy. It's not about being easy. It's about paying respect to the culture through the rituals that we have, right? So I really liked this ritualize to actualize. All right, let's move on. Group 3, we got performance and legacy. This is the biggest group. We got like 8 of the 15 lessons in here. All right, because it kind of, it's like an arc that we cover here, going from one to the next. So here they are. Go for the gap, play with purpose, embrace expectations, aim for the highest cloud, train to win, keep a blue head, not a red head, keep a blue head, and be a good ancestor. Lastly, write your legacy, which, if you read the whiteboard, what I say is you are not the legacy, but this says write your legacy. So we'll get into it. We're not going to deep dive as much into all these because there's so many, right? But keep a blue head versus red head is when he's talking about, like, be cool-headed, right? You don't be quick to anger. Don't be quick to fly off the handle. Keep a blue head. Like, say, it's just like the little fire dude from the Emotions movie that my kids, bing, bong, you know, with joy in them. I forget the movie. Pixar's, whatever, all right? Keep a blue head. Don't be a redhead. High standards, embrace expectations. We should be always giving out the expectation. This is what's going to be done. This is how we're going to do it. This is my expectation as your leader, as your chief. This is my expectation of you. This is what you can expect of me, right? High standards. Play with the purpose. Why are we doing this? Everyone talks about what's your why. What is your why? What's your why? What's your purpose here, right? I think this is very much lost in today's Navy, in today's military. And it's a societal thing. I get it. But so many people are like, oh, this is just a job. This ain't shit. It's just a job. You know, I was watching, I was doom scrolling and I saw, I think it was a PO1. I'm not sure it was right. He has some funny stuff out there that he's putting out, like in his coveralls on the ship and everything. And he was like, he was saying, you don't have to be here. You made the choice and decision to go into the recruiter's office. Sure, maybe you're at the worst point in your life. You still made that decision. You chose to be here. So what is the purpose for being here? Was it to not be homeless? So have a little bit more fucking, gratefulness that you're not homeless anymore, and embrace that you do have a fucking rack on a ship. And it's not the best thing, but it sure is fucking better than being homeless out on the street, right? Just things like that. So purpose, play with the purpose beyond your ego of, oh, I'm the greatest, I think I'm the best. Plenty of those people out there, right? I was probably one of those at some certain time too. I'm still the best LS though, if you ask my boy Nick. Long-term thinking, all right? Long-term thinking is be a good ancestor, right? When we're talking about the Māori culture here in New Zealand that they really get a lot of things from, it's very ancestral. That's where the haka comes from, right? It's like honoring all of that. So if we put this in a Navy term, right, who are our ancestors, right? It's, go Super Joe Navy here. It's in the Sailor's Creed, right? You represent the fighting spirit of the Navy and those who've gone before you to defend freedom, democracy around the world. They're right there. Those are your ancestors. Why are you not representing that? Why are you not paying homage to that? Why are you not thinking about that? I know today's America is very splintered, very fractured. I get it. I'm part of it, right? But when we're here in the Navy, we should be looking at all those people that have also served in the Navy, the big names that have left a legacy, right? The ones with the Medal of Honor recipients, the ones that have ships named after them. Not all of them, some of them, most of them, right? And we should really be looking at that of like, am I honoring that legacy? Am I honoring those ancestors in our Navy, right? Those that have made these ultimate sacrifice, life-ending decisions. And all I need to do is show up in a good uniform on time. And that would honor them. Got to start somewhere. And leaving things better. Writing your legacy. So this is where, I say you are not the legacy, but it sounds like it might be counterintuitive to that. You are not the legacy, right? I think there's a lot of people, I'll speak strictly of the Chiefs mess here. A lot of mass chiefs who feel that they've left a legacy and that it's about them, right? Or the way they portray it, right? I'll be very, like, I fucking hate nicknames, right? Some of the nicknames out here they're full of ego and arrogance, right? It's about leaving things better. That's what it's about. That's, like, you yourself are not the fucking legacy. It is, did you leave it better, right? Not how many sailors did you get promoted. Not how many, which that's good too, people. Money's good, right? But that's not what we're talking about. Like, is the Navy in a better place? What have you provided for it? Did you get a lot of people promoted and they're all fucking shitheads? But you don't know that because you don't have to work for them every day, but you get to sit back and be like, I did that. I've sat 15 ranking or 50 or like 5 or 6 or 8 chief selection boards and senior chief and master chief selection boards. And I've selected in my time over 5,000 chiefs. That's my legacy. That's me. I did that. Fucking who cares? It's not about you, man. It's not about you, girl. Right? Is the Navy in a better place because of those selections? How many people did you not select that was the right choice in not selecting them? How many people did you select that you should not have that made the Navy in a worse place? Some people might be looking at me like, Josh, that's you. You've left the Navy in a worse place. Okay, that's your opinion. I'm not the one saying that, I'm the greatest. All right, so the All Blacks, they're anchored on like national culture, okay? Even if you're not Polynesian or Samoan or anything from that area, right? Like you're a white coming in, they're still anchored on that national and that culture of that area and what it means to that team and to that country. So how can we get our, me at a recruiting command, not a recruiter, but like how can we get the new sailors to anchor into the culture of the Navy? And what is our culture of the Navy? Like truly, what is it? Okay. I ask you that. You let me know down in the comments. What do you think our culture of the Navy is? And don't spin this negative, people. Let's try to keep it positive. Okay. If you don't like what the culture of the Navy is now, what should it be? What do you envision it as where you could look back and think, yeah, that's what I want to support. That's the legacy I'm trying to leave to make the Navy a better place. All right. We'll go there. So let's wrap this all up here. We're went a little long today, but it was actually a really good book here. We need to identify our culture in the Navy. And that's what the CNO and like MCPON's job is, right? At the very highest of leaders, they should be saying, hey, this is what it's about. Quite honestly, I thought MCPON Honey was going to have a little bit more to say about that as a boatswain, as a surface sailor. And sadly, I was a little disappointed in some of the messaging that he sent out. Thought it was fine, MCPON, whatever. It was okay, good. But, like, I wanted some of that, like, BM, boats and mate, surface energy to say, like, this is what we are as a Navy. I just didn't get it. Doesn't mean he was bad. That's not. But that's what we need from the MCPON, from the CNO. We need that kind of energy to be spread through to trickle down effect and that's going to get us moving in the right direction. You hear it like every now and then when they take over, and then it seems like it quickly fades or dies down. And like that's got to be constantly beat. All right. We're not about exclusion. We're not about division. All right. We're about the shared belief, right, in service and in mission. That's what we should be about. That's like the biggest general, right? You're joining the military. It's your decision. You voluntarily did it. It should be about service, and it should be about mission. It shouldn't be about this is just a job, right? It should be about service and mission. As with anything, the All Blacks, they do it very well. It's nothing new, right? They did it. They reinvented themselves several times. Every time they thought they were stuck or needed it, when things were going well, they made a change to make it go better. That's what we should be doing, that you as a leader should be doing. Don't change for just change's sake, but change to be always improving. And then, lastly, because the Navy is only a small part of society and we are made up of citizens, we often reflect society, right? And, sometimes maybe that's not the best reflection, right? So what are we doing to not just reflect society? Yes, we all come from there, but we're now in the Navy. So what are we doing to reflect our Navy, right? And make our Navy reflect us in the most positive, generous light, and not make our Navy reflect the lifelines, outside the front gate society. All right, that's all we got for today. All right, I appreciate you tuning in. We have more episodes coming up and scheduled. Can't wait to get these interviews done with these new guests coming. All right, don't forget, like and subscribe. We are going live every now and then. It's usually just gameplay, having fun, kind of like a mental de-stressor for myself. Really been kicking ass at school, getting my ass kicked, more like it. So like, subscribe, turn on the bell for notifications. If you're enjoying this content and you think other people might enjoy it too, go ahead and hit the share button. Drop it in your group chat that you have with the homies, with your division, whatever it is. And we'll see you in the next one. We out.